So despite the far-right's eventual failure to win in Romania, no doubt that they have surged in the country, as well as doing well, as we heard at the top there in the first round of elections in Poland, and surging as well over the weekend in Portugal. Well, let's discuss the latest then with the president of the Expert Forum. He's an expert on Eastern Europe here and former representative of Romania in the European Economic and Social Committee, Sorin Ionita. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme. Let's talk about Romania, first of all. In the end, the far right not winning in Romania, but it was pretty close, wasn't it?
It was close in the first round, but eventually there was this extraordinary, coming from behind from minus 20 points to about +7 around in the second round. So it's something that doesn't happen every day in politics and shows how volatile and how emotional these elections were in Romania. And the second round was won by the pro-European candidate based on a massive mobilization of the silent majority, which proved to be rather pro-reform and pro-European. So it was not, as we feared, a MAGAification of the whole society. It was just the most active part of it, which was most visible in the first round.
The message, though, of the far-right candidate, George Simion, certainly seemed to ring with a lot of Romanians, though, didn't it? He talked about making Romania great again, of course, echoing that MAGA politics in the US.
Yes, this is true, and it has traction in society, no doubt about it, including in the Romanian diaspora in Western Europe, the big countries where Romanians are, Italy, Spain, Germany, UK. So actually, Simion was more popular than the sovereignist candidate than the pro-European candidate. And there are many questions for the state, the Romanian state and political leaders actually to respond. Why do we have such a big anti-system vote, protest vote? And it has to do with the arrogance and clientelism of the previous ruling coalition and President Iohannis, who ruled the country for 5 years, and his second mandate was judged as a failure now because it led to this situation and to the cancelling of elections in November. A very controversial move, actually.
Yeah, did that cancelling of those elections back in November galvanise the far-right supporters? I mean, a lot of people said that effectively the vote that they'd cast last time around for the far-right was a wasted vote, a stolen vote, if you like.
Absolutely, yes, it did, and even more so since it was operated by a coalition without credibility. Their leaders, the current prime minister, the leaders of the centrist Liberal Party, they never made it in the second round in November or now, which shows something about how unvotable they are. But they still wanted to continue to run the country. So this is why you have such a massive protest vote, and of course people were annoyed when the first round was cancelled back in November. But fortunately now, in the second round, we could see that actually the support for Europe and for, playing the right team in NATO, in security issues, the silent majority of the society is on this side. It's not on the sovereignist side.
But that side is growing, though, isn't it? I mean, it's not just Romania. The far-right has done better than expected in the first round of Poland's presidential election over the weekend. It's done a lot better as well in elections in Portugal over the weekend.
Yes, indeed, and this is one reason why it is important that Romania is, stepping out of this line, of this trend, with actually a very credible victory. I mean, 7 points different. It's big, and this is why Simion conceded after all, because he was preparing last week to contest the elections, to deny the results, and to say, like President Trump, that the elections were stolen. He was actually again putting up a rhetoric against primarily France and President Macron, copying rhetoric from the Kremlin, which is something very recent. The France is now the scapegoat because they are very active militarily on the NATO Eastern Front, and they are the main partner of Romania today. So this is why it is important what happened. But of course, the times will be hard because Romania has a very high budget deficit. Impopular measures will follow by the new centrist government, which will be formed, pro-European government, budget cuts, tax increases probably. So the sovereignist and Simion are waiting for that time again. Probably in 1 year from now, or by the end of the year, there will be unpopular measures in place, and they will rise again, as they say.
Do you think that politics is becoming more and more polarised? I mean, we talked a lot back last November when we had the elections in the US about the polarisation of the two sides there. But a lot of that situation seems to be spreading across a whole range now of European countries as well.
It has been polarized already, at least in Romania. It was the most explosive before this second round of elections. And the promises from both sides, Nicusor Dan, the winner, and the loser, is that they will try to remove some tension from politics and that they will speak to the other side. This is at least what the president-elect said. I will be the president of everybody, and I will engage the electorate who didn't vote for me. And if they live up to their promises, there's potential of depolarization. But indeed, you are right. In the region, tension is high. There's a war at our borders. And in Europe, in general, we see increasing nervosity, not just among political leaders, but in the electorate. And many political entrepreneurs want to exploit that.
And when do you think it leaves the European Union? I mean, there's a real risk, isn't there, that if more and more countries are facing this polarisation, perhaps more and more of them flip further to the right?
Indeed, and this has been the main danger. This is how we presented it, we who are civic activists or neutral commentators, that every attack, every time, Romanian democracy was presented as a non-democracy, especially by Kremlin. Maria Zaharova, the speaker of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia, said these are no elections. What kind of elections? These are actually proxy attacks against the European Union itself, because Romania was just a case study. The same is Poland. So whenever somebody tries to create chaos in a EU member country, is an attack, in fact, at the core of the European Union by those who do not like a system of rules and cooperation. And this is what must be defended in all these elections, including in Western Europe. This is how it should be presented. It is a European project which is under attack. It's not just one state or another.
And can the far right operate within the European Union? I mean, Hungary obviously has been very much on the sidelines of the European Union, but it is still within the European project, also thinking of other countries like Italy too.
Yes, but their project is no mystery. They said it. I mean, at least in Hungary, look, indeed, they look like a maverick, the country, but when you look at the people, the Hungarian people in opinion polls, they do not want to exit the European Union. Actually, there's a massive support for membership, and the same with NATO. So what do those leaders tell us? We want to stay in the European Union, but to change it from the inside, to make it less a political project, less a value-based project, and more like, a list of sovereign states, very jealous against each other, and talking endlessly about minorities and frontiers and immigrants. So the issues that divide us, instead of talking about the issues that unite us. So yeah, they want to be in the European Union, including the Romanian sovereignist movements. They are part of the party family of Georgia, which is led by Giorgia Meloni, and they make a lot of these European connections. They try to use it as an asset in these elections, but they have made no secret about their plan. They want to be there in order to actually dissolve the European Union from the inside.
And what are the next countries, if you like, to watch out for? I mean, notably, we're France 24. It's less than 2 years now down the road to a presidential election here in France. I mean, is that one of the countries that is next to watch, if you like?
Absolutely yes, and I think especially for Romania, but also for countries like the Republic of Moldova, for example, they have very important elections on the 28th of September, which for us in Romania are very important because they reverberate. We share the language, and there are obvious political connections. There will be again an offensive against the European project, sponsored by Russia in a very visible way, and France will be again at the core of these things, because they will take the blame for everything which is associated with Europe. President Macron personally, so they became a scapegoat actually for the Kremlin propaganda. And they will be continued, to be at the core of these attacks. So again, yes, France is a very important European nation, and what happens in French politics is important for us here on the eastern flank.
Sorin Ionita, good to talk to you on the programme today. Thanks very much for joining us. Sorin Ionita is president of the...
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much once again.